for the first time ever in this media outlet's existence, we're not talking about racing. We're not talking about gymnastics. In fact, we're actually going to go to the hardwood court for the first time in our 18 years of doing this. It's super exciting, but don't worry, folks. I do know my basketball. And who better to introduce us to the world of basketball here than with my friend from my work, and her daughter plays in basketball. So this is cool. Raeven Boswell is in the house. Raven, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing amazing. Love to be here and love the sport you have for women's basketball. It's awesome.
We love women's basketball, and it's not just me. A lot of people who follow what we do apparently love it. So I'm just gonna give to the people what they want to see all this time. So
Exactly.
it's going to be so so cool. And just reading up on you, Raven, before we got started, I know you grew up in an athletic family with your father, Mark. He's a two-time Olympian when he competed in Sydney, as well as in Athens. And I thought that was so cool for him to do that as a in track and field. When did you know that basketball was going to be your thing, and when did you first develop your love for sports?
Oh, from a young age. Honestly, growing up in, with my dad's history in sports, it was pretty much introduced from an early age. He really wanted us to get involved with that. But I'd have to say my love for basketball really started when I used to go to my sister's older games and tournaments and just seeing her go out on the court and do her thing and knowing that's my bigger sister, like of course I wanted to go out and compete and do what she can do. So I'd say she sparked my interest really for basketball before anything. Basketball wasn't my first sport. I was playing soccer, I did track, and then I got into basketball because of her. But ever since my first game and how that went, pretty much been in love with it. So it's awesome.
It's always cool when you have that familial connection, and not just with your parents but your siblings, and
Exactly.
obviously with sisters and brothers things can get a little bit competitive because
Yeah.
you're not the only one who does it. I know your brother also is an athlete himself. Being in that kind of environment, is it kind of fun to trash talk each other, or do you guys lift each other up?
It does not stop. The trash talking is nonstop, whether that's from who's gonna do, like, I don't know, clean the kitchen first to who get their homework done. It's just a competitive household, and that's just in our blood. And we know that's just how we love each other. That's how we express our love for each other. But it's always a competition, and especially when it gets into sports, it's extremely competitive, whether that's on our concrete out in front shooting hoops or if we go to the track and we're about to run. So it's always competitive, but we love it. So
That's so cool. And I wish I had siblings who would be that immersive, but I'm the only one who does sports. And when I say sports, I do 5K. So you guys doing so much more is amazing. And I can't imagine just the rush you guys get. But it's also good because, as we've seen with players who are in women's basketball, this whole tie about having families who push each other, it kind of helps spark the fire within to be competitive, to be such top performers. When you see what's going on in the world of women's basketball, from a collegiate and professional level. How awesome is it to see the support it's getting from people at last? But also, too, what are some things that people can do to ensure that this continues and it's not just what I call a beanie baby fad?
mhm. I'd have to say, I think just something that's just like local fundraisers and things like that, being interactive with the community is a major thing that I feel like can help out a lot. I'd also like to say, social media being a big piece. I think you can go far with that and being interactive and helping. I think targeting the younger generation with that, especially. You can see that's pretty much on the come up with a lot of younger girls supporting Caitlin Clark. It's awesome to see, knowing that sports for women has always been evolving and it has always been something revolutionary to be a part of, and it's so amazing. I love it. Just spreading the word and just getting girls involved, knowing that it's bigger than sports. It's a whole family to have. So definitely getting involved with the younger generation, I'd say.
And it's a way of life too, because the way people have to look at it is that this is, I don't want to say it's a job because it kind of delineates it as you're not enjoying it, but this is your workplace. In
Mhm.
a way, you're just trying to make sure that people understand, hey, I'm just as capable as anyone else out there. What
Mhm.
did you say?
I think just knowing who you're playing for and your why essentially will help you in that perspective and carry you along in your belief system. I'd also have to say, like, having a great support system behind your back. A lot of girls don't realize how far that can go and how much that can make you want to do so much more than what you're already doing playing at a collegiate level. That alone is already hard enough with the responsibilities that people don't realize that go on behind the scenes. And that can just be like the amount of extra work you got to put in. You got to go in for rehab, recovery, treatment. You got to take care of your nutrition. And on top of that, you're a student athlete. So you got to be on top of your books. And it's just, it's day in and day out. But I think if you love it, it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all.
It's almost like you have to be like those superheroes who work a day job and then go to the phone booth and they become this superhero in a way. And
Pretty
that's
much.
it's super admirable because trying to go to school, obviously do well with your grades, and then, oh, by the way, you're going to be on the road against your ACC opponents. I mean, that has to be something.
It's a lot of work, but just when you have the right people around you, it's easy.
Well, I can only imagine, and but you had a lot of good experience doing this because you went to one of the best schools in Central Texas in high school. You did three sports, as you mentioned at the top. So you've got a lot of experience doing that. Would you say some of those high school experiences helped you prepare for what you are experiencing now in the NCAA?
I'd say 100% yes. Just the activity level and having such coaches know a little bit about the collegiate level and being able to support me in that perspective of knowing what's to come, and having them inform me and get me ready constantly, whether that was on the court, in the field, on the track. It was always constant, but I enjoyed it and I definitely think about it all the time. If I was not doing such things that I was doing in high school, I would not be ready for college.
It's true. You have to be ready for prime time. And but it seems like you already had the OTJ experience doing this, not just from your family, but the fact you've been doing this for so long throughout your life. And here you are, you're getting to do this. And you got to experience some of that as a fan, even, because as I understand it, your mom mentioned to me how you guys used to go to, the games over in San Antonio and watch the San Antonio Stars play at the Frost Bank Center before they relocated to Las Vegas and became the Aces. When you were going to those games with your parents or your mom, who were some of your early inspirations on the basketball court?
Oh gosh, at the time, I'd have to say Skylar Diggins, huge, huge Skylar Diggins fan. I used to go to her camps all the time when she'd come out in Texas, and just seeing how much she interacted with the girls, she really demonstrated how much she loved the sport and how much she wanted everyone to play basketball and be a part of the community. And just seeing her support system really reflected on my life and life is incorporated in this process as well. It's not just an individual thing or something I got to do on my own. Maya Moore as well. I'd say Candace Parker, a whole bunch of athletes, honestly, but it just keeps growing, honestly, because the WNBA community and people getting involved is just getting better and better. So
Those are some great names you mentioned. And Maya Moore seems to have impacted so many people, what she's done on the court and what she's done off the court by, the things she's done for basically trying to be a voice for society and a positive voice for change, which I think that's one of the great powers, responsibilities athletes can have to affect positive change. When you look at someone like her, does that make you realize, wow, if I can succeed, I can have this platform not only to inspire girls to do what I'm doing on the basketball court, but I can also be a catalyst for other things outside the court.
100%. Just knowing that she's been able to do those things for people just really screams to me like, you're more than just a basketball player. You know, you have a voice, you're human, you can do things that a lot of people don't think you actually can do. And I think just giving the people that kind of perspective and that side of you being able to be vulnerable shows them that you're just as human and we care just as much. So advocating for a lot that we can do, especially for the younger generation, is definitely inspirational.
There's so many young women out there, young girls out there who I know are watching what Caitlin's doing, what Angel Reese is doing, a lot of the established guard, even New York Liberty. I know that a lot of people watch what they're doing. And it's just so cool to see that people are finally starting to say, you know what? This is really cool. We're not going to dismiss the WNBA and just say, oh, the summer is here. We'll just watch baseball and we'll get through the fall. You know, from your perspective, I'm just curious, like, what do you think of all of this, especially now that you're playing in Pittsburgh and you're starting to see yourself being able to be in a national audience?
I mean, it's always been like this. That's just how the WNBA, the women's basketball game, the culture, it's always been like this. So people coming up to me and asking me about it, it's just like mind blowing to them. And I'm just like, it's just always been like this. And so just seeing that there's kind of like an unveiling of women's basketball happening is amazing. And it's so grand seeing the eyes and the community and everyone getting involved. Like even me just taking the bus on college campus, I'll see people wearing WNBA jerseys supporting women's basketball. And it's just really touching because I grew up and nobody had no idea what the WNBA was. It was such a small atmospheric environment. And to now be a part of it in the collegiate world and see it take off as I grew up and developed this journey with basketball is so touching and inspirational.
And I know it's not just going to be played in small arenas. I mean, they're moving it to where the NBA teams are playing. So, I mean, that has to give you some motivation, not only for yourself as an individual, but for your teammates, for others in your sport to go, hey, you know what? We're not going to be this so easily dismissed. They're actually taking it seriously for a change.
For sure, 100% this year, I'd say. Also, them franchising to Canada. I'm originally from Canada. Seeing that is amazing, knowing that there's such a big community up there in Canada and not having a team for so long is so heartbreaking. But now that it's eventually starting to happen, they're gonna have a franchise out there. It's gonna it's gonna go crazy. Like they're gonna love it. Canada basketball is amazing, and just having that up just down the street in Toronto will be amazing. Knowing that there are so many girls who are play basketball, and even for girls that don't play basketball, having that opportunity to go to the game in general to know is amazing because I knew growing up, I had no idea what the WNBA was until I was like maybe in middle school. And knowing that it doesn't stop at the AAU level, it goes on further. It just raises the roof even higher for what you want to achieve in life.
That's the best part is that this is actually not just a fad. This is really seriously being taken because the Valkyrie got also announced as well. And when we talked about this before we did the interview, there's limited opportunities, unfortunately, in the WNBA, unlike college, where there's so many teams, so many opportunities. But when they have so little teams, but now they're expanding, this has to give you a bit of hope saying, you know what? If I can get people to notice what I'm doing on the court, even if it's not about points, but doing the defensive work, doing the rebounds, being a good team player, maybe I'll get my chance to be like Kate Martin and I show up for my teammate, and then all of a sudden I get drafted.
100% no, having more opportunity just means that there's just more to do. And realizing like you don't have to score all the points on the court. You can also have other factors contribute to help you become the best player that you are. Someone I do aspire and look up to is Dee Richards, Monique Billings, how effective they are on defense and just their athletic ability is so inspirational. And just knowing there are girls out there who are just as good on defense, if not better, that carry their game so much. And so seeing that representation and knowing that it can expand our opportunities with the franchising, it's just amazing.
And I hope it continues to grow because I feel like my stance has been that if there's an NBA team in most of these major cities, you got to have a WNBA team at this point. I mean, it's
Mhm.
this is not going to go away. This is going to be here to stay. And the thing too, I think that's also helping out too is that on the collegiate level, since 2018, we've got the transfer portal. And I know you talked about this with me off the record, but with this portal allowing students like you to go to a university that'll give you more opportunities, how has this impacted your situation to not only have a better platform to play, but also give others out there the chance to say, you know what, I don't have to be languishing. I can be somewhere where they'll let me be able to do what I can do in the court.
Mhm. I definitely believe growing up at the time, there was a whole stigma behind the transfer portal and like that's such a dangerous place, who's transferring. There was such an idea of like, going to the school and being there for all 4 years, die hard. But now with this transfer portal idea opening up, and I think that definitely took off during COVID and NIL. That has been a main factor. Allows us to, not necessarily be afraid or feel like you're stuck necessarily with what you have, but just understanding that your talents can be carried throughout the country, and there are people out there that want to see you thrive and do well in the collegiate level.
And I feel like you found your place right now in the collegiate level, being at the University of Pittsburgh, because you went there, transferred there last August. And Obviously, you had some chances to play last year. What were some things from last season that made you say, hey, this worked out really well? And then some things that you're saying, you know what, 2024, 2025, I can't wait to be out back out there and show people what I'm made of.
100%, I'd say just the support system. Knowing that they care about you day in and day out. If you want to get in the gym, you're a phone call away, as well as your teammates supporting you. Having that behind you really, I guess, fired something in my stomach to just, go out and want to do the best I can. Um, I'd also have to say, just having that opportunity, at the beginning of the season, me transferring and the rules, was iffy. And so me being able to have that opportunity made me want to do 100% better. But also just having that connection with your coaches, knowing what you want to achieve and them being there to push and thrive and help you achieve those goals. So having those set plans definitely had helped me want to do better this year. And knowing like what our team had went through last year and what we are capable of is so inspirational. And him and Coach Verdi and the staff adding players to what we have already is going to be awesome. And I can't wait to see what we have in store next year. But I'm definitely 100% ready for next year.
I'm sure if I mean, I know you're looking forward to the summer and all, but a part of you, I'm sure, is dying to get to the fall. I mean, like, let's just get on with it.
Ready to show the ACC what's up. We've been in this phase here at Pitt, just reprogramming things, and obviously the first season's not going to go as what it's planned. But knowing that at that point you have to build a culture and a team, and just build from there is what I felt like we had achieved. So just sticking to the plan, and yeah, going with it.
And you have another year of experience, and now you're not just a new face in the team. You're someone that the younger folks, the freshmen, can come up to and say, "Hey, Raven, what goes on with this? Why is Coach doing this?" And you can kind of be a mentor while you're going after what you can to help the team.
100%. Being that leader, I think that's something I definitely want to take on this year, especially with this team and having so many people come in, knowing what we've gone through and just, getting everybody on plan, on board of what we want to achieve this year and what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, and setting a standard is something key. I feel like that's going to help us do a lot better and win next year.
Absolutely. And I know when there's cohesiveness in the team, winning results are not too far around the corner. And I'm sure
Mhm.
the ACC is going to see Pittsburgh be among the mix to be a contender this year. Now, talking more about you from the personal standpoint as a player, even, I'm just curious. I know some players say they don't listen to music before games, which that's to their own. But for you, what are some songs that you may listen to before a game that pumps you up, makes you feel like this is my game?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'd have to say I listen to a mix. A lot of people are shocked to my playlist what I listen to, but I'd have to say a whole bunch of like either 50 Cent, Bad Bunny, Nicki, a lot of EDM. I'd have to say because of Austin. I've
Yeah.
always been into EDM ever since I moved to Austin, so I'd say a bunch of that. Um, that's pretty much it. I guess I could add like Future or Drake, but pretty much it's not too much, but it's what I have, so.
It's enough to get the juices flowing. It's enough to be like, you know what? I am not just Raven Boswell, the woman. I am Raven Boswell, the athlete. And you guys better come at me because I'm about to go at you back.
Exactly.
It's so awesome. I always wanted to understand what it's like to be an athlete. So when I watch games, I talk to athletes like you. It's just so cool to get onto the psyche of what goes on before games, and especially during games, of course, for sure. We talked about the steps that basketball needs to take from the women's standpoint, and obviously we're seeing that with the WNBA trying to do better. We've seen them have charter planes at last instead of flying commercial. But you pointed out a big disparity to me, which I was really shocked with, even though I did my research. But the pay situation, I mean, it's crazy that talented women out there, they're making far less than the bench player in an NBA team. In your perspective, what are some things that can be done to better advocate this so that it's not necessarily an advocate like a situation where you're saying, oh, you got to stay in the NCAA to make money?
100%. I'd say reaching out to your community, getting involved with them, knowing that, this is a thing people do for a living. And the pay's not too well, but just knowing that you can go out in the community and find people, and I'm 100% sure there are people that want to support women's basketball. There are people that want to support women's basketball and they have no idea how to get involved. So definitely reaching out, fundraisers, being interactive. A great thing I also noticed is a lot of NBA players are also helping out funding a lot of WNBA players. I think it was Kyrie Irving who actually helped funded the women who actually went on maternity leave for being pregnant and wanted to go on getting paid by the WNBA. So having that, him being able to support those women is amazing. And that definitely inspired a lot of other NBA players to help support the women's game. And not even just players, as well as businesses and franchises and a whole bunch of other things. I think I noticed what they do really well in Europe too. A lot of advertisement you see on the courts and the games on their jerseys is something that helps them. A lot of the players get a lot of revenue and just open up the views and have that I guess what's the word?
Like
The
opportunities or
opportunity to see
exposure.
the game. Right, exactly. Exposure. I don't think it's as well as it is in the WNBA, but it is getting a lot better. So
And hopefully it does get better because there's some cases where the games don't even show up on national TV. You have to get the League Pass app, which, it's good, but not everybody has access to that. So hopefully it's a little bit more readily available so you can get it on a streaming platform like Hulu or, Fubo or any of those because it's like it kind of kills the momentum when you say because if you have ESPN covering your games and all of a sudden you're like, League Pass, what's that?
they definitely need to make room. I know there was a couple problems last year on ESPN streaming certain games and why they weren't streaming certain games, but also knowing that their games are selling out. People are watching WNBA and collegiate basketball, so they definitely have to find some way for people to have more accessibility to it.
Because if we can do such a good job in the NCAA, it ought to be the same just for now, having the 12 teams that are in the league. It's like, come on,
Can
we
translate
don't,
for sure.
right, exactly. That's my point. It's like, come on, we got to do better than that for sure. A couple more questions for you before we wrap things up. And this will not be the only time I interview you, Raven, I promise you. If you had to be me writing an article about you, which I'm going to be doing, but you had to describe yourself in 3 words, what would those words be and why?
I'd say humble, determined, and hmm, I guess open-minded. Um, I think being an athlete growing up and being in that athletic world, knowing how to, talk to certain people and interact and engage with a lot of different kind of people, having that open-mindedness to learn a whole bunch of new things, whether that's for yourself and bettering yourself or your teammates or people around you, is key. I'd also to bank off of being driven, despite my dad's upbringing and everything and that he's done, which was amazing. I also want to, set a name for myself and my siblings in our name as well. So just having that and knowing that they're behind us, supporting us, we want to do the greatness that we can achieve with that. Determined, I'd say just being at Pittsburgh, not the best at Pittsburgh. So just when I want to be a part of that generation where Pittsburgh is up and coming and doing a lot of new things. Um, Definitely determined in that way, but just, determined to show the game and bring awareness to women's basketball.
And maybe we'll see folks wearing your jersey or jerseys at the game, which I'm sure would be really cool because you'd be like, oh my goodness, this is like a coming of age moment for me.
It's awesome to see little girls out there, just even our little fundraisers and like our middle school nights or Girl Scout nights, seeing the girls and seeing how lit up their faces get just to see us play basketball is so touching.
It's so cool too. I mean, I don't have kids yet. I have a niece, but just knowing that she can watch a game and know there's girls like her, all older, of course, but she knows like, hey, it's not just guys playing. Someone like me,
Exactly.
when I get a little older, like that's so cool. That's where I'm kind of like, I guess, so invested in this is because I'm an uncle. I have a niece, and I'm just like, wow, there's possibilities. You're not just delineated to whatever society tells you to do. You can do whatever your mind puts you to doing.
Exactly. Definitely know how that feels having younger siblings. I do not ever kill their dreams. Like they are more than capable of achieving anything they put their minds to. Just knowing that, I was able to do that and have such a great example as my mom, being their support system and knowing what she has done for us as a mother and as an individual as as well, is inspirational. So just knowing that you have that, it just doesn't stop at the LA Fitness and you're the only girl on the team. Like that sucks, but just know that there's so much greater to it.
Exactly. You just got to keep pushing forward just because you may be the only one in the journey right now. There might be others following you and they just don't know about you, but when they learn about you, they'll be alongside and they're going to be helping forge along that path. And so it's
Exactly.
not so daunting for sure. My last question for you, Raven, is kind of a fun one for me to usually ask race car drivers. I'm going to ask you and put you on the spot. If Hollywood approached you and they asked you, hey, Raven, we want to do a movie about your life as a basketball player, which actress in Hollywood would you want to have play you on the big screen and why?
That's a fun question. Bridging 2 different worlds. What actor? I don't know. I'd have to say either Yara Sahidi. She does a great job in her image and how she portrays herself as a strong individual Black woman. I'd say I would probably say her. Yeah.
I'm sure she'd be really touched about that. And hopefully we can give her a shout out to learn about you. Maybe she'll go to your game.
Oh, I would love that.
Just say, I'm just trying to help a sister out here, you know?
Never know exactly.
Now, as we wrap up the interview, is there anything you want to say to your fans of Pittsburgh, your family, any shout outs you want to give?
I'd say shout out to my family, for just always being there supporting me. It's inspirational, being me and having to set this image for them. But just knowing that they love me day in and day out, whether I'm happy, sad, mad, it doesn't matter. They love me. I like to shout out the LT community here at Lake Travis. A lot of younger girls here know who I am and want to be a part of my journey and definitely care about me. And so just knowing that I have that back home is amazing. I like to shout out the girls in Canada. Having an opportunity to play basketball here is really hard and it's a privilege. So, and I also like to shout out the Pitt community H2P, for doing a great job. And hopefully we can get more fans out there next year. And yeah,
We'll definitely see that for sure. But I can assure you that this will, again, not be the last time we have you. We'll have you on as many times as you want to have to be here on this segment for sure.
feel so welcome. Excited to do more though.
Absolutely. That was Raven Boswell, everybody, for our very first edition of Beyond the Court. So, you female athletes out there, you women basketball players, come at me because we want to profile you. And Raven's going to definitely give you guys a shout out too. So, thank you so much, Raven.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.